When narcissism and ADHD exist together in the same person, the result is often a kind of emotional chaos that leaves partners, friends, and even family members completely lost and confused. One moment they seem obsessed with you, pouring all their energy into you as if you were their entire world. Then, just a short while later, they act cold and distant, as if you barely exist at all. They break promises, rewrite the past in ways that favor them, demand endless understanding from you, and always have a ready excuse whenever they hurt you. Today, we're going to uncover 5 toxic behaviors that people who carry both of these traits often do. Behaviors that most people never notice until they are already deep inside the relationship. 1. Weaponized forgetfulness. We all know that ADHD truly creates real struggles with short-term memory. They often lose their keys, miss important appointments, or suddenly disappear from a conversation that is still going on. But when this is combined with a narcissistic personality, that genuine biological difficulty is turned into a sharp and dangerous tool of manipulation. Every time they hurt you, promise to help you, or agree to an important financial boundary, they suddenly forget everything. When you gently remind them and ask for accountability, they look you straight in the eyes with the most innocent expression possible and insist they remember nothing at all. The real toxicity appears in the next step. If you show disappointment or sadness, they immediately flip the entire situation. They accuse you of being ableist, of lacking patience, and of not supporting their mental health. Suddenly you become the bad person, simply for expecting the minimum level of reliability in a relationship. In the end, you find yourself comforting them because they feel so guilty about their bad memory, while you were the one who got hurt. This is not an accident. This is a deliberate strategy to erase their bad behavior without ever having to say a single word of apology. 2. Hyperfocus on your flaws. When someone with ADHD discovers a new interest, they often throw themselves into researching it, buying every piece of equipment, and talking about it non-stop. When that same person also has narcissistic traits, their ultimate hyperfocus subject becomes you. Specifically, everything that is wrong with you. In the beginning, they pour all their attention into admiring you, making you feel like the center of the universe. But when the initial dopamine high starts to fade, their brain begins craving a new source of stimulation. Because a narcissist can almost never look honestly at their own deep insecurities, they turn you into their new project in the worst possible way. They dissect your personality, your appearance, your career choices, and even the way you breathe with the precision of a surgeon. They deliver harsh criticisms under the excuse of just being honest, or wanting to help you grow. Because their impulse control filter is already weak, these insults pour out continuously, slowly wearing down your self-esteem without you fully realizing it. You think you are having a deep and sincere conversation, but in reality you are being systematically lowered so that you become easier to control. 3. Interrupting to invalidate. Conversations with this kind of person are no longer real dialogues. They turn into competitions that must be won at all costs. People with ADHD often interrupt because their thoughts race so fast and they are afraid of forgetting their idea before the other person finishes speaking. Sometimes that is only annoying. But when narcissism is added, the interruption becomes a power move designed to take over your reality. The moment you start sharing your pain, your achievements, or simply talking about your day, they cut you off in the middle of a sentence. They do not only change the subject to themselves, they deliberately invalidate whatever you just said. If you say you're tired from work, they jump in to prove that their job is 10 times harder and that you have no idea what real stress looks like. If you try to explain that they hurt your feelings, they cut you off to argue that your perception of reality is completely wrong. They use the speed and intensity of ADHD to overwhelm you with words, speaking fast, speaking loud, and speaking non-stop until you can barely breathe. By the time they finally pause, you're too exhausted to even remember what you originally wanted to say, and they walk away feeling victorious. 4. Continuous chaos as a smokescreen. Some people can live with a certain amount of disorganization in their lives, but a narcissist with ADHD actively creates emotional and environmental chaos because it serves as the perfect smokescreen for their toxic behavior. Their life becomes a constant chain of self-created crises, missed deadlines, fights with friends, and sudden emergencies. At first you feel sorry for them and jump in to help, paying late fees, organizing their schedule, telling yourself they just need a little support to get their life together. But look carefully at the timing of these crises. Every single time you have a big success, an important presentation, or simply need the focus to be on yourself, they suddenly face a disaster. The car breaks down, they fight with their boss, or they suddenly need you to handle their emotions right away. This is not just poor planning. This is a tactic to keep the environment in a permanent state of high alert, so that you never have the quiet time or mental clarity to step back, look at the relationship clearly, and realize how badly you're being treated. You're so busy putting out their fires that you fail to notice they are the ones holding the matches. 5. Impulse control gaslighting. One of the core features of ADHD is impulsivity, doing or saying things without fully thinking about the long-term consequences. A narcissist uses this trait to the fullest because it gives them a medically backed get-out-of-jail-free card for cheating, lying, spending all the shared money, or exploding in rage. When they do something deeply toxic, such as blowing the savings on a random shopping spree or openly flirting with your friend right in front of you, they blame it entirely on their lack of impulse control. They say their brain is wired differently, that they only act on impulse, and that they simply cannot help it. But there is a major red flag that most people miss. This impulsivity strangely only happens in ways that benefit them and harm you. They never impulsively buy you a big gift. They never impulsively clean the entire house while you're at work, and they never impulsively stand up to defend you when someone insults you. Their impulses are always selfish. If you point this out, they hit you with a powerful wave of gaslighting, accusing you of being cruel, heartless, and completely lacking empathy for their neurodivergence. They turn a medical diagnosis into a license to behave like a monster without ever facing a single consequence. Facing this specific combination of traits can make you feel like you are slowly losing your mind. The key to surviving it is learning to separate a real disability from a toxic personality. ADHD makes it harder to regulate attention, manage time, and control impulses. But it does not make someone cruel, it does not make someone manipulative, and it certainly does not make someone incapable of empathy. If a person constantly uses their neurological wiring as a free pass to cross your boundaries, invalidate your feelings, and keep your life in a state of ongoing misery, stop waiting for them to change. The scattered and chaotic act is only an illusion. The manipulation is real. It is time to stop being their caretaker, stop accepting their half-hearted excuses, reclaim your own clarity, and walk away. If you recognize someone in these descriptions, do not rush to diagnose them, but also do not ignore the repeating patterns. Understanding why someone behaves a certain way can bring clarity, but that understanding should never become an excuse for repeated disrespect, manipulation, or emotional harm. In the end, ADHD may explain certain struggles, but it does not erase personal responsibility. And narcissism does not become harmless just because it wears a different mask. The people who protect their peace are not the ones who understand toxic behavior the most. They are the ones who decide to stop tolerating it. And that decision is what changes everything. Because you deserve peace, not a lifetime ticket to someone else's chaotic and selfish circus.